corruption will have an end. We shall have more drugs in hospitals, better roads than we have.
Kizza Besigye, President Museveni's most formidable challenger, says he doesn't trust the country's election commission. He plans to do his own vote tallying and announcement. The government says he will be arrested if he carries out his threat. And if that happens, things could take a turn for the worse. Mohammed Ado, AlJazeera, Kampala, Uganda.
Let's get more news from the Americas now, and it's back to Dalji Dhaliwal in our Washington DC broadcast center.
Doreen, thanks very much. Now, the two candidates in Haiti's presidential runoff have kicked off their campaigns before the vote on March the 20th. The current president's preferred candidate, Jude Celestin, was dropped from the final round after allegations of electoral fraud. Now, that leaves the race between the leader from November's initial poll, Maland Manigat, and the former pop star Michel Sweet Mickey Martelly, who is a newcomer to politics. He came third in the disputed first round results. But as our Latin America editor Lucia Newman reports, many Haitians would like to see another candidate on the March 20th ballot.
This is the Bel Air neighborhood of Port-au-Prince, and what you see here may look like an election rally, but it's actually a protest to demand the return of exiled President Jean-Bertrand Aristide. This is one of his many strongholds here in the city, where large crowds are gathering everywhere precisely to demand that the Lavalas party that he represents be allowed to take part in elections called for March 20th. And more than that, they want Aristide to come back and lead that move. Now, as you know, Aristide was exiled, was forced into exile. His period in office was cut short in 2004. Now, these people believe that Aristide really is the only person in this country who represents the needs, the interests, and the feelings of the poor. Even opponents of Aristide, particularly the two presidential candidates that will be vying for the presidency on March the 20th, concede that Aristide has the ability to mobilize more people, has more influence than any other politician in this country. And that is why a lot of people are afraid that he will return before the March 20th elections. And the people here are hoping that if he does, all bets will be off. Lucia Newman, AlJazeera, Port-au-Prince.
Well, for more on the political situation in Haiti, I'm joined from Berkeley in California by Kevin Pina. He's a journalist and filmmaker whose reporting has focused on human rights issues in Haiti. Mr. Pina, thank you very much for joining us here on Al Jazeera. Let me just start by asking you, well, you know, the first round of elections in Haiti was widely regarded as fraudulent. Have you seen anything since then which would make you think that this second round will be any different?
Absolutely not. If the first rounds were fraudulent, these second rounds are a joke. Less than 20% of the population could vote. Remember that the first round occurred in the context of more than 1.3 million people homeless, still living under tents as a fallout from the January earthquake in 2010. There was a cholera epidemic that was raging throughout Haiti, and how they could have expected to hold, under those conditions, to hold a legitimate ballot was beyond anyone, but they attempted anyway. But if that first round was fraudulent, the second round is certainly going to be a joke. Let's face it, the two candidates, Michel Martelly received only 4.5% of the vote, Maland Manigat only 6.4% of the vote. There's no way that this can at all realize a mandate for a leadership that Haiti desperately needs to lead it forward at this period.
So in the midst of this picture that you've just painted, this poll is going to take place on March the 20th. It is possible that the former president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, will fly back to Haiti before the election. How is that going to add to this sort of volatile political mix then of this situation on the ground?
Well, I think that it's going to add some reality. I think that P.J. Crowley, State Department spokesperson, and Susan Rice and the Obama administration in general live on the moon when it comes to U.S. foreign policy. And their approach to Haiti, they do not live in reality. And the reality is that you cannot move that country forward while Jean-Bertrand Aristide remains in exile. There's no way that that country can heal. The major rift between its political factions, there is no one who can unify unify the Haitian people at this moment in history more so than Jean-Bertrand Aristide. Now, of course, there are great obstacles to his returning. We know that the Obama administration are making a lot of noises. There are threats against the South African government. There are threats against his allies in the region, such as the Venezuelan government, to put pressure not to allow him to return. But as your correspondent showed today,
a couple of days ago, I just wanted to ask you, sorry for interrupting, I was speaking to his attorney in Miami, and he was saying that Aristide is more interested in getting involved in the field of education, that he has no interest in politics, at least according to his attorney. What do you make of that? I mean, do you think it's possible for somebody like Aristide to totally stay outside of politics and to be divorced from that situation once he gets there?
Well, I mean, I don't accept this false dichotomy of one thing is political and everything is political, including education, and especially in Haiti. I don't really see it as a real concern. I think, again, it's a question of Haiti needing unity, and that the only thing that can bring unity and allow that country to heal, to move forward at this point, would be Lavalas being able to participate fully in the politics of that country, and I think that would only begin with the return of President Jean-Bertrand Aristide to his country.
All right, Kevin Pina, thank you so much for joining us from Berkeley in California.
My pleasure.
At least 8 people are dead after a shootout between 2 rival drug gangs in the Mexican city of Acapulco. The gunfire erupted as one group attacked taxi drivers associated with another gang. 6 cars were incinerated and 2 of the victims are said to have been burned to death in their vehicles. The 2 gangs were reportedly battling for control of the local drug market. Mexican authorities have arrested a man suspected of killing at least 20 people in and around the capital since the start of the year. Juan Carlos Vasconcelos Montalvo, known as the grey-haired one, is also accused of smuggling drugs. Authorities say that he worked for the La Familia drug cartel. That's it from now. That's it from us in Washington for now. Now back to Darine in Doha.
Daljeet, thank you. Well, France has kicked off its presidency of the G20 group of nations with a warning from President Nicolas Sarkozy. He says national interests must be put to one side, and that's if the organization is to succeed. Sarkozy went on to remind the gathered ministers of the challenges facing them. They're embarking on a weekend of negotiations over so-called indicative guidelines. Now, these are aimed at signaling imbalances that could threaten individual economies as well as global stability.
Since last year, the recovery has begun. It's faster than foreseen, but it's unequal. It's not sufficient enough to bring unemployment rates down. Coordination is, and we have to understand this, the only way we will be able to tackle unemployment. It's our only hope. There's no alternative choice.
But China appears to be ignoring Sarkozy's call. It's rejected plans to use real exchange rates and currency reserves to measure global economic imbalances. Now, that casts doubt over the ability of the G20 members to reach agreement during their 2-day meeting. The Japanese whaling fleet is heading home after its annual whale hunt was cut short by almost a month. The government says it's because of harassment by the anti-whaling group